Hi guys and girls, I thought I would do this video. I'm a keen collector of Ping putters, but my favourite putter is the Ping Anser. So I thought I would show you some of my putters, talk to you a wee bit about the history, the different versions of the Anser that have come out over the years, and hopefully, get some feedback in the comments. Any questions that you've got, I'll be happy to try and answer those for you. So I'm going to stick to Ping putter, Anser putters that are made from this material here, which is manganese bronze, and they range in date from 1966 to sort of early 2000s. Okay, all of these putters, as I say, made from manganese bronze, have the traditional sort of heel and toe weighting to promote less twist of miss-centre hits, and the off-centre hosel design and the floating face. Some people call it a slot line, but it's a floating face. Okay, so what we've got here is an original Scottsdale Anser. These were produced for a period of 13 months between February 66 and March 67. And all the Scottsdale Ansers have the box 1345 Scottsdale, Arizona in the cavity. Ping golf clubs. This one here says by Carson, not all of them do. This is a version 6, but I think version 5 and 6 both said by Carson. And then latterly there were some which had Gary Player inscribed in the sole of the putter. This was an agreement with Gary Player that he was able to distribute them in South Africa. So there were some Gary Player models, and these are very collectible as well. So the Scottsdale Anser, as I said, we've got the heel toe weighting and the off-centre hosel. This was really, Carson came out with this to try and challenge the market at the time. A lot of players were using bullseye style putters or the Wilson Napa style, used by Arnold Palmer. And he wanted to break into that market, but also improve his own putting at the same time. So he came up with the heel toe weighting and this offset hosel design to get the ball rolling faster. The material that he chose to make them from was manganese bronze, and all the putters I'll talk to you about today are made from manganese bronze. So manganese bronze is a combination of copper, aluminium, zinc, iron and manganese. You'll quite often find people advertising Ping putters on eBay and describing it as brass. It's definitely not brass. This is manganese bronze. And the nice thing about manganese bronze is that over time it develops a lovely dark patina. You will see Ping Ansers of different ages with different tones of patina on them. And again, that's something that I love about them, is that no two Ping Ansers are the same, because they all age differently depending on where they've been played or if they've been stored, etc. So there were two molds used in the Ping Anser. This is the flat sole mold. There's also a rocker sole mold. So Carson's design was the rocker sole mold, and Allen's was this one here, the flat sole mold. The putter first debuted in professional golf at the Phoenix Open in '66, but the following year in '67 it was actually had its first victory with Julius Boros, who won the '67 Phoenix Open. And then the first major was in 1969, where George Archer, who's considered a very good putter, used this to win the US Masters. And at that point, the cat was out the bag. Everybody knew how good this putter was and would go on to be. So looking at this putter, things to know are the sloping bumpers on the toe and the heel. Obviously the cavity, the offset design, the floating face, and here's the face profile of the Scottsdale Anser. So in my mind, a beautiful putter, very proud to own this. And this one does actually have the original shaft band on it. You can see here, hope the camera's picking that up. So it's a black tuned balsamic shaft sticker. These were very fragile and very few of them actually survived. So if you can find a Scottsdale Anser with this sticker on it, then you're doing well. This doesn't have the original grip, but it is a Ping grip, so I'll not change it. So Scottsdale Anser, really proud of that one. After that, Carson moved production to Phoenix, Arizona. And at this point, they produced the Ping Anser with slightly different lettering in the cavity. The lettering now reads Carson Co, and it's got Phoenix, Arizona, and now uses the 85029 zip code and has Made in USA written at the bottom there. So this putter, the Carson Co model, was actually cast from the same molds as the original Scottsdale Anser. So these putters, the Carson Co ones, have a bit more cachet than some of the later Ping Anser models. I know earlier on I mentioned about the flat sole and the rocker sole. Here is a rocker sole just to compare the difference. You can see how the sole on the rocker sole, this is Carson's design, has a slightly curved sole in between the bumpers, whereas Alan's design at the bottom has a much flatter sole design. Both fantastic putters, but just slightly different to allow for different player preferences. I think this one at some point has been cleaned up, maybe dumped in Coke or vinegar or something like that. Not my decision to do, but I prefer them with this lovely dark patina. This is probably one of the darkest ones that I've got here. This is aged really nicely. Okay, so the Carson Co Dale heads, they were produced around 1967, and again for a very short period. In the UK, they were then distributed by Slazenger. Ping wasn't a well-known brand in the UK at that point in the 60s, but Slazenger was one of the biggest brands over here. So Ping would send over heads and shafts over to the UK, to Slazenger, and they would assemble these putters in their factories or their units in the UK and would sell them in pro shops in the UK. And these putters would have a slightly different shaft band on it. I think we refer to this as the dancing Ping logo, but it's in America or around the world, this was a black label with silver text. Here in the UK and in parts of Europe, it was a gold label and with black text, and it had the Slazenger logo along the top of the shaft band. So it was quite common here in the UK to find Carson Co Ansers with that Slazenger shaft band. There were a few that were actually stamped Slazenger on the sole, both the Carson Co Dale heads and also the later models. This was obviously before the days of the internet, so it took a wee while for Ping to cotton on to the fact that Slazenger were doing this. So if you can find one that's got Slazenger stamped on the bottom, that's good. A wee bit extra value in those putters. Again, at that time, Jack Nicklaus was using Ping, and I think an agreement with Mark McCormick and Slazenger and Ping meant that Jack Nicklaus got his name onto a few putters, including the Carson Co Anser. So again, if you can find a Carson Co Anser with Slazenger and Jack Nicklaus on the sole, you're doing well. So just once again, we've got the flat sole and the rocker sole Carson Co Ansers. A term which you may hear people talking about is the term Dale head. Now, a Dale head refers to any Ping Anser with sloping bumpers. as opposed to a more squared off bumper on the heel and the toe. You can see these ones here have a sloping design, but the next putter that I show you will have a slightly squarer off design. So only putters that have this sloping design are called a dale head. Okay. So next up, I'm going to show you the first Anser that was a non-dale head. This is actually, you can see the difference in the bumpers here. They're slightly more squared off. Ping actually changed the stamping to reflect the change in the company's name, and it's now referred to as Carson MFG Corp, Phoenix, Arizona, and we're still using the 85029 zip code that we were using in the Carson Co Anser. But this one here is not a dale head. This one would be classed as a dale head. And you can tell from this one that it's an early one because there's no registered trademark on the heel of this putter. Later 85029s would have a registered trademark there. Also, at this point, this putter was still being distributed by Ping and Scottsdale in the UK. So this one, although it's a bit knackered, it's got some tape on it. It has the Scottsdale shaft band on it. Again, at this time, Golf Pride Pro only grips were popular on Scottsdale, Carson Co and the early 85029s, as were Golf Pride Informer grips. So the 85029 would run from between 66 and 67. You've got to remember that these putter heads were produced in mass, and although they were manufactured during these times, they may have been sold at later dates. So it is very hard to age a Ping putter. You really need the full picture. So you need to look at the head, look at the stamping in the head, look at the shaft and the shaft sticker, and preferably if it's got an original grip, that can help to age them. So at this point, with the 85029 that I've just taken away, this one here, this putter obviously changed slightly, but people still wanted to use the dale head design. But the problem with the dale head design was that it was hard to manufacture en masse because the bumpers had to be ground down by hand. So this was one of the reasons why they changed the putter design to this more squared off. However, it didn't stop people's appetite for having a putter that looked like the original. So at this point, there appeared another dale head. As you can see, again, we're back to the sloping bumpers, but this time we've got registered trademarks on the heel and the toe, and the cavity reads Carson MFG Corp, and it's using the same 85029 zip code. So this one here, back to the dale head, I think probably at this point in time, players such as Nick Faldo, Ian Woosnam, Bernard Langer, Seve had all grown up as young amateurs playing this style of putter, and started to see this putter probably more on tour in later years. So that's probably one of the reasons why this putter was again produced with this stamping on it. I don't believe this was manufactured from the same mould as the original Scottsdale or Carson Co. I believe they'd come up with a different mould by this point. So yeah, interesting. This one actually still has that. This one also has a Scottsdale shaft band on it as well. And these putters, the Carson MFG Corp with the 85029 zip code, were also available in a rocker sole as well. Okay. So the next one in the timeline, we're still using the 85029. Now, I can tell that this is slightly newer than the one that I showed you before. And the reason for that is that I've now got a registered trademark in the heel of this one. We're still using Carson MFG Corp in the cavity and the 85029 zip code right down there in the bottom. It's not very clear on this one. And we've still got Made in USA on the top rail here. So the reason I can tell this is slightly newer is that it's got the registered trademark on it, but we've now also updated the shaft band here. So this one has now got the black shaft band, which was introduced. Again, a very fragile shaft band, and Slazenger had probably lost the distribution agreements by this point for Ping putters, because Ping probably got their manufacturing up to speed and were able to do a job themselves through pro shops. This one here's got the Ping grip. This one's slightly different from the ones that are sold nowadays in that it's got the double R, the registered trademarks at the top and the bottom of the grip. So probably original, I don't know. I'll not change it because it is a nice Ping double R grip. So following on from that, Ping changed the zip code again. The putter head design didn't really change. So the putter head design didn't change. This one here still has Made in USA written along the top line, but we now have an 85020 zip code. So these heads are believed to have been made between 68 and 1973. Like I said before, it's hard to say exactly when a putter was sold because the heads were manufactured in mass and the shafts were just assembled as and when the orders came through. And this is really now this at a time of mass production for Ping. So I would say anything after 85020, these are not rare anymore, because mass production had really been geared up and they could churn Ping putters out at an alarming rate because so many players were winning with them on tour, and obviously people wanted them in their bags. The only challenge you might find is trying to find one in good condition, because at this point people still weren't really using head covers to protect their putters like we do nowadays. So trying to find one without any bag clatter on it can be a challenge. But yeah, this one here is in pretty good nick with some nice patina on it. The shaft band again is the traditional black shaft band. This one has a pro only grip with some kind of penguin on it. I don't know where that's come from. But the interesting thing about the 85020 is that this is the one that Fred Couples used to win the Masters in 1992. So yeah, nice wee bit of information there. So moving on from the 85020, we now have the 85068. Again, putter design hasn't changed at all. The head is still the same size, same dimensions. We still have Made in USA written along the top line. And now we've got the 85068 zip code. We've got Ping and Anser with registered trademark both on the toe and on the heel. Again, your main challenge is not trying to find one of these putters, but just trying to find one in a good condition without any bag chatter on it, any bag clatter. So this one here again has the fragile black shaft band and the Ping double R grip on it. So interesting fact about this one here is that this putter was used by Gil Morgan in the 1992 US Open, and he used that, and he was the first person ever to reach double figures under par in a US Open. So he reached 10 under par before dropping back, and then obviously finished further down the leaderboard at 12 under. But that's quite a historical moment that it was a Ping Anser putter that was used to get to double digits under par in the US Open for the very first time. So interesting bit of history there. After that, This is probably one of the most common putters, Ping Anser putters, that you'll see on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, etc. The putter head actually changed at this point, so when you look down on it, it's actually looks slightly longer from heel to toe. The face is slightly longer, and it is slightly heavier, probably due to the fact that, you know, greenkeeping technology improved and greens were getting faster. So a lighter putter was, you know, wasn't really as good on fast greens, so they wanted something a wee bit heavier. So this putter is slightly heavier than the 850 29s, 20s and 68s, the ones that had the Made in USA along the top. So the inscription on some of these ones, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 different castings that were used in this putter. Not all of them were very clear. This one's not too bad, but the zip code that's used in this one is down the bottom right hand corner. This is 85068. So yeah, this is just this is when sort of Ping were in their heyday. At this point, you know, the Ping Anser 2 had arrived, the PAL 2, all the sort of beryllium copper putters, the B60s and whatnot were all used at this point as well. And this is really, you know, when Ping started to, you know, it started to really find success. It's quite hard to get information of what putters pros used at the time, but we know now, since the Grand Slam putters came out to commemorate the Grand Slam in 1988, there was actually this model of putter that Seve used to win the Open at Royal Lytham St Anne's. That was the year Sandy Lyle used the PAL, Curtis Strange used the Zing 2, and Jeff Sluman, the PAL 2. That was the Grand Slam in 1988. So interesting bit about this one. The shaft band in this one is a new shaft band. The Ping man here, and the Ping logo on top with the black stripes at the top. So this one has now got the Gainsborough address, so the Ping factory in Gainsborough had opened by this point. And this one here has the Ping grip with the double R registered trademarks on it. So at this point, Ping putters were, you know, there was new technology come out, people had started to copy the designs, and this was really the kind of last retail putter that Ping produced. This one here, again, they've gone back to use the 85029 zip code, and I would estimate this putter to be kind of early 90s and sort of into the early 2000s. So it does say Carson along the top, but don't confuse it with the Carson Co, which is a much earlier putter from the 60s. This one is a similar design to the last 68 that I showed you. It's just really the text has changed. So yeah, just really to increase the weight, this putter is slightly bigger than the original ones that had made in USA along the top rail. The shaft sticker on this one has changed slightly. It's now got a red Ping man on the label as opposed to the black one from the earlier model. Okay. Sorry about that, I just knocked my camera. After that, you know, different designs of putter had come out, and competitors in Ping were all using different materials. But it was important to recognise the 30th anniversary of the Scottsdale Anser, so Ping produced a putter to commemorate the 30th anniversary. There were, in fact, this one came with its own head cover. There were, in fact, 30,000 of these made in each sole design. So we've got the traditional flat sole here, but there's 30,000 of the rocker soles. These are really, really nice putters, and they come with a really nice premium leather head cover with kind of white fur lined. These are really nice putters, and yeah, these are sort of highly collectible. Interestingly enough, Payne Stewart went back to using this style of putter. He won the Houston Open using the anniversary Anser, Scottsdale Anser. So although it says Scottsdale Anser on the head cover, you know, collectors will only really refer to the Scottsdale Anser as the original one from 1966. But yeah, just an interesting putter here. It used the same or a similar shaft sticker to the original, and similar shaft as well, true temper shaft. So that was came out in 1996. Another putter which came after that was this one here. Again, it does say Scottsdale Anser in the top rail there. This one's a bit beaten up. It's got somebody's put an alignment line on the top of it there. Following the same design, just freshened up for the Millennium, I suppose. Still got Ping and Anser on the heel and toe, and starting to use some of the newer graphics that Ping are using, and they still obviously have that large Ping logo in the cavity today. But obviously the same Dale head design, so you could call this a Dale head putter, and this is a rocker sole one. So that one there would probably be out around 2000. So the final one I've got for you is another anniversary one, and this is the 50th anniversary. So very similar in design to the 30th. It came with this lovely head cover here, nice brown leather with black fur lining. So similar in design to the 30th anniversary one, with the same stamping in the cavity. This one looks like it's been treated with something to age it, but it has tungsten weights in the heel and toe, and yeah, so I think there's 775 of each model made, both rocker and flat sole, and they came in a nice presentation box with a certificate and obviously that head cover there. So this is a really nice putter, and in comparison to the other Ansers, you know, there is significantly more head weight in this model here, and it's really nice to roll. Just it's a shame I don't want to take it outside, but I think it would be pretty good on the golf course. So I hope this has been interesting and informative. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section, and hopefully I can get back to you. If you like the video, then like it, and then other people will get to see it as well. But thanks for taking the time, and speak to you soon.